Happy Friday to everybody. This is Jeff Covington from Therap Services. And today we are doing an overview of Therap's eligibility module, intake and eligibility, pardon me. Um, let's get started. Again, this is Jeff Covington. I am the Deputy Director of State Implementation. I've worked for Therap Services for the past 4 years, and I work specifically with the states team. We currently have contracts with 18 different state entities uh, for Therap. So they are our customers, and the providers within those states use us. Um, Today I'm talking specifically about our intake and eligibility, and I guess you could say just about everybody does intake. But Currently, South Carolina is one state that uses our eligibility module. And we are currently working with both Rhode Island and the state of South Dakota to begin having them use our eligibility module. And you have some options, and we'll kind of go over those a little bit depending on where you're at, what you do. First thing I want to point out is on our website, I did a search for eligibility, and I came across eligibility overview. I'm going to put a link to that, maybe. All right, so why is not letting me do it? All right. Well, somehow we'll get the link out to you. It's not letting me put it in the checkbox. Maybe we can do it in questions. All right. And maybe it's because I didn't actually paste it or copy it rather. Let me try again. Sorry about that. I want to make sure you guys have what we have here. It is completely not without the realm of possibility that I meant to hit. Huh. All right. Well, we'll get to that later, I suppose. For some reason, it's not letting me copy and paste. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about eligibility. Right now, I am in a fictitious state oversight account, a demo account. This particular one is what we use um, in the fine state of South Carolina. As I mentioned, they are one of our state customers that uses eligibility. Um, I'm going to show you what it looks like from here, but it would look the same within a provider account. So if a provider themselves chose to use our eligibility module, it would look like that. Okay. Hmm. So the first piece of that obviously is intake. So let's do that. Let's come down here to individual intake. And again, if you're in a provider account, it may look a little bit different, but the buttons are all the same. So we have new here. Thank you, Leah, for putting that in the chat box. I appreciate that. So we have new individual intake here, and I'm going to press on new, and I'm going to put the person's name in here. Okay. Okay. And then again, if I want to, I'm going to put some other information in here so you can kind of see what it looks like on that eligibility form. And we're going to do a date of birth. All right. All right. All right. And then because we're in an oversight account, they need to have an oversight ID. And so we'll do that. Okay. And then you save it. So you've created this person. Okay. If we go back into their IDF, you will see that there are in pending admission status. Okay. You're able to do an eligibility on somebody in pending admission status in your own account. We'll talk a little bit later about how a state and a provider can work together to do an eligibility. But for right now, we're gonna talk about doing it in an account, whether it's a state oversight account or a provider account. So I've created Sarah. Sarah's a new person, looking to have her eligibility established. Okay. So now I'm going to come down here to the eligibility module, and we have new here. Okay. And I'm going to find Sarah. And here we have Sarah. And we're going to start an eligibility on Sarah. Okay. And we kind of have it set up so that there are 3 different actions, if you will, for eligibility. The first is that you kind of complete the eligibility form. Okay. So that you are attaching documentation in order for eligibility to be determined. Okay. So we have Sarah here. Again, she's in pending admission. You see there her date of birth, social security number, age, and Medicaid number. Those all came over from that individual intake that we did. Okay. And so let's say, for example, I'm somebody at whether it's a state or a provider, and somebody who's wanting eligibility comes to me and says, can you please determine eligibility for me or my loved one? Okay. So I'm going to choose the eligibility request date, which may be the date I received this in the mail. So I'm going to say I got it yesterday, or I'm sorry, on Wednesday. And requested eligibility category. And I choose 1. Now, these are configurable by you. You decide what goes on this list. This list is specific to the South Carolina Department of Developmental Disabilities and Special Needs. Okay? So you say the person's asking to become eligible for a intellectual disability. Okay? We're going to skip through this eligibility decision part, and we come down here to the document checklist. Okay? Again, this document checklist is configurable by you. You decide what documents you would like to see in order to be able to determine somebody's eligibility. You'll see down here that this one, for example, authorization to obtain information, we have required next to it. We cannot make things required by, I guess, technology, but you can make them required by policy. So if you wanted a document to be required, you would simply add required in parentheses after the document name. Okay. So now you would go through and attach the documentation needed. Okay, so we do add file. We hit browse here. Okay. And this was for the IEP. Let's see if we can find that here. All right, close enough. All right, give it a description. And we say Sarah's most recent IEP. And we upload it. And there it is. Okay. And again, you would go through. For each line, so for example, psychosocial reports, you can only add 1 file. Again, we find that. Let's say, for example, you take something like here, IEP passed. Maybe you have 3 years worth of IEPs that are relevant. You would use other. So you could have any number of others here in your document checklist. Okay. And then that would get added here in the description. You'd be able to tell what it is. Okay. So kind of for these, rather than having that document name here, it would go over here to the description. So you should be able to tell what it is. Hannah asks if you create the I apologize, we have a bot amongst us. Hannah asks if you create the admin. Actually, we do that, and it becomes visible to you. Okay. Great question, Hannah. All right. Now, and again, you would just do how many of these you would do. This provider linking, this provider mapping, we're going to talk about in just a second. Okay. So now I'm going to save this. I've got all my documents attached to it. Okay. And it says that it has been successfully saved. I'm going to come down here to the bottom, update it. I need to open it back up. Actually, before I do that, let me go back to my dashboard. Okay. And if I come back down here to the eligibility section, you'll see draft. There's a 2 prompt next to it. That's where that is. I've saved it, but I have not yet submitted it. So now I open it back up. And I submit for review. Okay. Back to my dashboard. Back down to my eligibility box, and you'll see next to pending a review, I have 2 here. Okay. And I open this back up. Okay. Now I'm going to come back down here to the bottom and hit edit. Okay. And now this is where the reviewer can do their work. All right. They would go through and look at these documents. So for example, I want to look at Sarah's most recent IEP. I hit download here. Comes up as a PDF, and I can read it. Okay. And that's going to help me make that eligibility determination. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to go a little bit through the South Carolina process. During the review process, and it's step 2 of 3, we have a questionnaire attached. So questionnaire is a separate Therap module that is customizable. You make the questionnaire yourself. and you get to, and we'll see it here in a second, you get to kind of choose what the questions are. It's a little easier to explain, I think, if I open it. So I'm going to open it up here. Okay. And we can see that this particular questionnaire has 31 questions. Okay. All right. And you can see that we have them all here kind of non-answered. You can make questions. We'll go into the questionnaire in a second, hopefully. And you get to, so let's look at this one. Related disability. All right. This is a drop down. So we have all the, okay. So I hit save and next. Okay. Other related disability. So if I had chosen other in the other one, I could save it. Let's go to question 7. Question 7 requires a date. So the date that the file was received. Okay. And you kind of go through and the person would be expected to answer all these questions. Okay. Adaptive testing. Okay. Again, it can be very specific to your state or your provider. All right. And the answers show up here. So again, in this scenario, the reviewer does this. Okay. So he answers all those questions, looks through this paperwork that's attached. Okay. Now they could make a decision as a reviewer. So they could say the eligibility category. So they requested, this may be different. So they requested intellectual disability, but you're going to say, well, they don't qualify for an intellectual disability. They qualify for an autism spectrum disorder. Again, list configurable by you. All right. Effective date, we'll leave that for the approver. Outcome, eligible, not eligible, undetermined, or withdrawn. This is not customizable. This is a fixed field so that the person is eligible. Okay. Next is processing status. Okay. Again, configurable by you. This is a way for you to track where you stand with your different eligibility. Okay. We're going to say eligibility process completed. And then eligibility referred by was court ordered. Again, customizable by you. Then the justification, if you wanted to write something here in that box. Based on my review, Sarah is eligible for the autism spectrum disorder waiver, not intellectual disability, based on test results and assessment scores. Okay. Now, as the reviewer, I'm going to hit update. I've answered the questions. I've filled in some of these drop downs. I'm going to update it. I'm going to go back to the form. Actually, let me go back to my dashboard first. No, I don't want to do that. We'll go back into this pending review. Again, if somebody submitted it and didn't attach all the information you needed, you could have returned it. Instead, though, I think all the information is here. I now want to submit it to somebody else to approve. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my dashboard. Again, come down here to my eligibility box. Oops. I refresh my privilege here. And I see I have a one prompt next to pending approval. Now I click on that, and there it is. So now as the person who approves these things, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to edit. Again, I could return it back to the reviewer. Maybe I could say, I don't think that the person is really eligible, or I feel the person has is eligible for intellectual disability. But anyway, I'm gonna go in here and edit it. They could do that themselves if they wanted to. They could change this. Wait a minute, why didn't it let me edit it? I could edit that. See, now it's an intellectual disability. Typically, the approver would do the effective date, so today. And again, depending on what your requirements are, this could be a year. This effective date could be blank. Effective to date, that it's always effective. Okay. So now, once that is completed, I update it. That saves the changes I made. I go back to the form. And I approve it. I get an attestation that I reviewed this content and verified the information provided is true and accurate. I hit yes. And it tells me that it has been successfully approved. Okay. Let me pause here. See, we have a question. Okay, Portia asked a question. Looks like Leah answered that. Okay, thank you, Leah. All right. Let's look at the search results. So what would it look like if I did a search? Okay. Again, if I was looking for a particular individual, I could do that. All right. Or if I wanted to look at all eligibilities for a certain period, I could do by outcome, how many people were actually eligible. Okay, let's do that. Who's eligible? Whose outcome was eligible? And no date range. I hit search. And now I have all of these. And as you can see, the search itself gives you a pretty comprehensive listing of everything. You get all the fields. You get the status, processing status, eligibility category. Everything that's in the module is here on this, search result. Obviously, with the exception of the questionnaire. Then I could open one of these up. And you see we have one here for Justin. Okay. All right. As I mentioned earlier, there is a variation. So again, this would be only if there was an oversight account attached to a provider account. Okay. We are looking to, this is currently what we do in South Carolina. It's also, Jackie, I noticed you were on the webinar. This is probably also what we will do in the great state of South Dakota. So let's go down here. I'm going to do a new intake. Okay. I'm going to do a birth date here. Okay. Oh, geez. All right. And we'll do the oversight ID. Individuals with similar names. Let's go back. Okay. And now we've created David. Now, in order to do this next piece, I have to admit David. Okay. So I'm going to come down here. You see right now that David is in pending admission. All right. I'm going to come down here and admit David. Okay. Down here, I'm going to refresh my privilege. Okay. So in South Carolina and in South Dakota, when eligibility needs to be determined on an individual, the onus to collect all that paperwork necessary for that person to become, that person's eligibility to be determined falls to the case manager. Okay. In South Dakota, they are conflict-free case managers. So here in a second, I'm going to create an eligibility form and I'm going to send it to a provider, a case management provider. But in order to do that, in order for me to be able to send that eligibility to that provider, David has to be admitted within that provider account. And there's an easy way from the oversight to do that. If you come over here to multi-provider individual, we're going to do what's called a quick referral. Okay, and we're going to do a quick referral for David. Okay, here he is. We're going to hit send. There's going to be a list of providers that could accept David. I'm going to choose this one, CM1-SC, and send it. Okay, couple things. One is, in order to be able to do a quick referral for somebody, they have to be from the oversight and admitted status. And now, because I've done that quick referral, David is going to be populated within that provider account as admitted. Okay? So now I'm going to come down and do a new eligibility. Eligibility, new. And let me find Mr. Green. There he is. Okay. And again, I would maybe do the same thing. Oops. Request date and requested category. Okay. Maybe add a document or two. Okay. Now I'm going to come down here to where it says linked provider. And this account shows up. All right. So in order for that drop down to get populated, the individual has to be in admitted status in that provider, which David is. I'm going to choose to have it go to that account. I'm going to hit save. Update. Go back. Send to provider. Okay. Now, I'm going to log out of this oversight account. And I'm going to log into that fictitious case management account. I go to my to-do list. Okay. And I see here a pending provider response. And I open that up. And through the magic of the World Wide Web, Mr. Green's eligibility form has come from the state oversight account and is now in the provider account. Case management provider. As a case manager, I would open this up. Okay. Come down here to edit. And again, this is where I would add all my, sorry, my internet's running kind of slow today. This is where I would add all these files if I needed them. Okay. Do it real quick. Go guardianship paper. Okay. So again, I add all this paperwork that's required. And again, I'm in this provider account. I come down here and I hit update. I go back to the form. And I hit submit for review. Okay. At this point, it's out of the case manager's hand and back with the state. So now I log into that state account and I come down here to my eligibility box and I see pending review with 2. I click on that and there's David Okay. I can look and see who it was sent by or last updated by. Okay. If I wanted to know who it was from, sometimes oh, it's that Jeff Covington. He probably forgot to attach about 10 things. I know I'm going to send this one back, right? And again, it follows that same process. As the reviewer, I would go in, make some of these determinations. Okay. If I needed to answer some of these questions, I could do that. Okay. Update it. And now I would submit for approval. These processing statuses allow you to check where things are, right? So we know, for example, that there may be something that's under appeal. Right now, we don't have an appeal process here, but we are working on one. But you could at least designate that it's under appeal, and it would stay in that pending approval. Okay? If you had to do some sort of evaluation, okay? Let's say you had that evaluation scheduled, and that was okay? You came in, I guess, pick anywhere, right? Other. Add file, choose. Evaluation requested to determine eligibility. I upload this. All right. We'll update it. See that the processing status is evaluation scheduled. We see here that that evaluation was completed. We go in and we look at that evaluation. Okay. Oh, great. He's eligible now. So I go back in. I say the outcome is now that he's eligible, and the processing status is complete. Update. Approve. The attestation. Effective date is required. Oh, well. We'll choose today. heavy beer. Okay. Again, update back to form. You come up here, see what was last updated by me, and approve it. Jackie asks, can you clarify your comment regarding provider access prior to admission? So, in order for that person to get sent to you, Jackie, if you're a conflict-free case manager, the person would need to be in admitted status. So let's say you're a conflict-free case manager asked to determine eligibility on somebody. The state creates them in the oversight account and quick refers them to you. They show up as admitted. You complete the eligibility, send it back. The state says, nope, this person's not eligible. Okay? Then you discharge the person. You're saying the CSP. The CSP is kind of cut out of the eligibility process. So let's say, and again, not fully knowing your entire workflow, Jackie, what would happen theoretically is Johnny comes to the state and says, I want to be eligible for services. Boom, the state sends it over to the case manager. The case manager fills out that eligibility information. Johnny's deemed to be eligible by the state, okay? Once he's found eligible, he's now able to receive services, okay? So now what the case manager is going to do is go in and refer Johnny for services, okay? So if they're out in the West, maybe they're going to refer them to you, Black Hills Special Services, and NHTC, okay? And you guys decide whether or not you want to serve this person. Once you accept that referral, then he becomes admitted in your account and you can start providing services and documenting. Does that answer your question, Jackie? Okay. Wait and see. All right. I mentioned earlier that a questionnaire could be attached to the eligibility form. And this is our questionnaire module. A questionnaire module is, again, something that you can create. It has to be attached to a module. So it's attachable to our case note module. It is attachable to our priority list, our level of care, and our eligibility. Okay? Very easy to create. Lear and I have a great deal of experience creating questionnaires. So if we hit create here, we're asked to give the questionnaire a name. Okay? And we'll just call this eligibility determination X. Okay. And then we're going to add a question. So you add a question. What is this person's disability? Okay. I can say that the question is required, yes or no. I can give a hint. I can say as diagnosed by a physician, not what you think their diagnosis is. Okay. And then answer type. So I have all these choices. It could be numeric. It could be text, 255 characters. Text multi-line, 3,000 characters. It could be a date. It could be a time. It could be a radio button, which means you can choose one of several. It could be a drop down. It could be a checkbox, which means multi-select. I can choose more than one. An address, or simply an attachment. Okay? So I'm going to say for this one, and again, you kind of learn what's the best way, right? If it's a yes no question, use a radio button. If it's more than two, probably a drop down. All right? As much as you can, try and keep away from text because then you get, I use text here for diagnosis, right? I'm going to get everything under the sun. Maybe I want it to be a little bit more controlled, so I'm going to do a drop down, right? I save it. Now I can do the answers, right? So I can say, all right, autism, question, answer number 2, Prader-Willi syndrome. Okay. Now we'll just do one more here. An intellectual disability. Okay. And I hit back. Now that question's saved. Okay. What is a person's disability? Hint, as diagnosed by a physician. Okay. Now those are the choices. Right? Add another question. When was the person diagnosed? All right. Required. I don't need a hint here. It's pretty straightforward. I do a date. Save it. Back. Boom. Now I see. Right? Red asterisk means it's required. And you just kind of go through and do it. Put all those questions in there with all those answers. Okay? A couple things about questionnaires. Pardon me. It's a straight question. So let's say I say I have a drop down that has 5 choices and other. Okay, and that's question number 1. It doesn't then automatically open up question number 2 to say what if other. You'd have to put that in. So it's not intuitive. It doesn't open up another question if you answer yes or no or answer a question in a specific way. So it's not intuitive. You can only choose one answer per question, one answer type, right? So you can't say I want it to be a drop down, but if it's not one of the drop down choices, have it be text. It's one or the other. Let me see. We have any questions about questionnaires? That's kind of funny. All right. Anna asks, is eligibility for Medicaid able to be checked through Therap for New Jersey? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, if it was something that I guess if you wanted to give whoever you were working with at the state access to your Therap, you could do that. But right now, no. And Jackie asked, we can see information for a referred person, but they aren't admitted until we accept them. Correct. Yes, Jackie, that is correct. They are not admitted into your account until you accept them, and B, the state approves your acceptance. Yes, Jackie, we will see you next week. Thank you. Any other questions? All righty. Well, thank you very much. If at some point over the next few weeks we have this recorded, we will download it and put it up on our website. For those of you not familiar, in particular, if you had a colleague who wanted to see this and wasn't able to join today, if you come here to our webinars link, so you're on our page here. I'm assuming a lot of you are familiar with that webinars page because you did register today, and thank you again for taking time out on a Friday afternoon to listen to me babble on. Okay, but here's where you're able to register for webinars. I point out several of these for you. And then if you come down here to the second part in this lovely green, you will see recorded webinars. So this webinar, again, will probably be up usually give us about a 2-week turnaround time. So again, if you wanted to see this again, you could be willing to do that. Or if you had a colleague that missed it today and wanted to see it, you could do that as well. Okay, and they're all here. And again, it'll tell you who presented it. Leanne and myself will be here. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. You've been a lovely audience. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to your normal Therap contact person and go from there. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.